Now, let me see. All right. Now, I'm going to give y'all a little more information because I was doing a little more research on this guy here. This guy is much more, he's much more than a vapor. Trust me when I tell you, he is much more than a vapor. Okay? Bigger BX, what up? So, this is a DEA agent who helped put Viktor Bout behind bars, and he slams the Brittany Griner swap. We couldn't even get two people for the world's most notorious weapons trafficker. So this guy's name is Tom Pasquarellos. Tom Pasquarello. Phone started buzzing around 7 a.m. on Thursday. Did you hear the news? A friend asked. What news? Pasquarello responded. The news turned out to be the undoing of Pasquarello's proudest achievement from his tenure as a regional director with the DEA. The U.S. had released the notorious Russian arms trafficker who Pasquarello helped take down 14 years ago with a sting operation. Victor Bout, the so-called merchant of death, and the inspiration for the 2005 Nicolas Cage film Lord of War, is who Russia received back from the U.S. on Thursday in a prison swap for American basketball star Brittany Griner. Bout, 55, was serving a 25-year sentence in Illinois federal prison on charges of providing weapons to terrorists and conspiracy to kill Americans. Yo, I can't believe Biden let this dude out, and all these people that's still locked up from the laws from the crime bill, the three strikes. Like, he didn't overturn and let all these people out from the crime bill. This is crazy. To Pasquarello, freeing Bout early was a troubling decision with potential huge repercussions. The former DEA agent argues that the U.S. Department has a responsibility to figure out how to bring Griner and other wrongfully detained Americans home without offering a prisoner exchange or making other major concessions. I'm kind of in disbelief that someone with the potential to orchestrate arms deals that could kill Americans anywhere in the world would be traded for a prisoner, Pasquarello told the news. I think this sends a terrible message that U.S. will negotiate, that the U.S. will make concessions, and that if an American is held overseas, there's always the potential that the U.S. will make demands of people like Russia President Vladimir Putin and bail them out. Pasquarello's personal connection to Bout may color how he views Thursday's prison swap, but he is hardly alone in his assessment that the Biden administration gave up too much to get Griner home. Other foreign policies experts also wince at the obvious imbalance between Bout's crimes and Griner's. The U.S. alleges Bout smuggled military-grade weapons to rogue leaders and insurgent groups across Africa and beyond, elevating conflicts from machetes and one-shot rifles to grenade launchers and AK-47s. Russia alleges Griner flew into Moscow on February 17th with vape cartridges containing less than 1 ounce of cannabis oil in her luggage. Yuval Weber, an expert on Russian military and political strategy, told us that Bout's release may incentive rogue state and non-state actors to kidnap or imprison on trumped-up charges more Americans. Weber also Weber also expressed concern that Bout might reprise his former role as an operative who exported arms to Russian allies at Kremlin's bidding. In sports term, say Weber, a distinguished fellow at Marine Corps University, Brute Krulak Center for Innovation and Future Welfare. We just traded a GOAT first ballot Hall of Famer who still has many years of productivity left for a hometown Division III star. We traded Michael Jordan for a scrub at the Rucker. I don't know if y'all want to know how Victor became an arms trafficker, but let's. It's best that we know the history on this man, so we can understand how dangerous he is. Uh, exactly how big a threat is Victor Bout? The answer depends on who you ask. Russian state media calls him a businessman and an entrepreneur. His former website said he's a born salesman with underlying love for aviation. A longtime DEA agent once described him as one of the most dangerous men on the face of the earth. Bout rise to prominence began during the early 1990s when he astutely saw opportunity amid the chaos of the collapse of the Soviet Union. Piles of weapons and ammunition lay discarded in dusty warehouses. Military planes sat abandoned on Soviet runways because there was no money for maintenance or fuel and no one to fly them. Relying on military and intelligence connection he had previously made, Bout acquired several Anton Antonov cargo planes known for their heavy airlift capacity and ability to land in treacherous terrain. Those became the starting point for a private fleet of more than 50, God, 50 Soviet cargo planes and a network of air freight companies that haul goods to and from far-flung conflict zones. Bout's planes reportedly carry anything from fresh cut flowers to frozen food to UN peacekeepers, but authorities say he ranked in the most of his profit delivering arms and ammunition from old Soviet stockpiles. At Bout's peak, at Bout's peak, according to the U.S. Department of Treasury, he had the capacity to transport tanks, helicopters, and weapons by tons to virtually any point in the world. God. The ability to supply that sort of firepower rapidly and with pinpoint accuracy helped Bout build a client list that included some of the world's notorious leaders. He made 50 million supplying the Taliban with military equipment, according to the US Department of Treasury. He also allegedly inflamed conflicts in Libya, the Congo, Rwanda, Leone, and Sudan. Angola was the one country where Bout allegedly defied United Nations sanctions prohibiting arms trafficking and U.S. peacemaking efforts. A former high-ranking U.S. Department officer told us in May that In the mid to late 1990s, Bout sold Soviet era arms to both sides of the Angolan Civil War, the Marxist government and the UNITA rebels seeking to overthrow it. He was undermining our efforts to create peace in Angola, the former State Department source said. He didn't care which side of the issue he was on. He was in it for profit. Yeah, he's selling guns. If he's selling guns to y'all because y'all got beef, he ain't got beef with these people over there. And he know they gonna need guns because y'all got guns. So he gonna sell guns to them too. He sell guns. And this is how guns get in different countries. You see this? This dude went and took an old military warehouse that had a whole bunch of old ass guns in there, went and packed all of them up on planes and flew them to different countries and sold them. And you know, they sell all around the world today in our neighborhood. And then we got little kids with AK 47s. Bout consistently stayed one step ahead of the international investigators by repeatedly registering and re-registering his planes in far-flung countries, enabling him to avoid inspections and oversight. It also helped that Bout had the protection of the Russian government, enabling him to retreat to Moscow after global law enforcement agencies shined the spotlight on the work he had long doing been doing in the shadows. By 2007, the U.S. deemed Bout such a threat that it tasked the DEA with setting up a sting operation to catch him. The DEA crafted a plan to have agents pose as members of a violent Colombian rebel faction seeking missiles that could shoot down American aircrafts and arms that could kill American forces. The sting operation culminated in March of 2008 when the DEA successfully baited Bout into leaving his Russian safe haven and flying to Bangkok to finalize the deal. After Bout's meeting with undercover operatives ended with him shoved up against the wall with his hands in the air, Pasquello entered the room. Do you have anything to say? Pasquello asked Bout. The game's over, the arms trafficker coolly responded. Russia plays hardball. Bout might have served the entirety of his 25-year sentence in federal prison were it not for Griner has called an Bout might have served the entirety of his 25-year sentence in federal prison were it not for Griner has called it an honest mistake. The U.S. had repeatedly rejected the Kremlin's prisoner exchange proposal involving Bout until one of America's most well-known women. I did not know this girl before she got arrested. I'm sorry. She is not one of America's most well-known women basketball players. Lisa Leslie is. I'm sorry. Well, she might be now, God damn it. Uh, the U.S. had repeatedly rejected the Kremlin's prisoner exchange proposals involving Bout until one of America's most well-known women's basketball players went on trial in Russia for drug possession and drug smuggling. In July, Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced that the U.S. had offered Russia a substantial proposal. The offer was believed to be a 2-for-1 trade exchanging Bout for Griner and Paul Whelan, a retired Marine detained in Russia for the past 4 years on espionage charges that both he and the State Department say are bogus. While Blinken spoke directly to the Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, and urged him to agree to the proposed exchange, Russia refused to include Wheeler in the deal. Then or in subsequent negotiations. President Joe Biden said Thursday that the U.S. either had to agree to trade Griner for Bout or there will be no deal at all. Sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case different than Brittany's, Biden said. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up. We will never give up. The Bout for Griner trade is the second high-profile prison exchange the U.S. and Russia have negotiated this year, despite mounting tensions between the two former Cold War enemies. In April, the U.S. secured the release of Marine veteran Trevor Reed. I remember that. In exchange for the Russian pilot serving 20-year federal prison sentence for conspiracy to smuggle cocaine in America. This is like some real petty stuff, yo. People doing crimes and they using their crimes as bargaining chips. Like, how problematic this prisoner swap, how problematic these prisoner swaps are is subject of debate. Some foreign policies experts insist that high-profile prisoner exchange like this one incentives Russia and other countries to seize more Americans. But for former State Department Foreign Services officer David Salvo told us he's unconvinced that that's the case. Maybe I'm being naive or overly optimistic, but I don't think that you're going to see an rise in cases of Americans being jailed to extract leverage over us, says Salvo, the deputy director of Alliance for Securing Democracy and an expert on Russian foreign policy. These cases are still exceedingly rare. This happens so infrequently that incentively it shouldn't factor into the calculus. We had to do what we had to do to bring our people home. We got one of the two back, so we got one of the two back so far. It's a bittersweet victory in that regard, but that has to be the ultimate goal. Experts say that securing Bout's release was a point of pride for Putin, because the arms trafficker is a former intelligence agency who displayed loyalty to Russia. Oh my God. And he been in the United States jail all this time, and y'all gonna let him out, and he's an intelligence agent. You know how much intelligence he could have gained in the United States federal prison system. Bout operated with state protection throughout his arms trafficking career and often served the government's foreign policy interests once Putin rose to power. Whether Bout is still as dangerous today as he was at the peak of his power isn't fully clear. Salvo admits that Bout didn't get his Merchant of Death nickname for no reason. But he points out that Bout has been on the sideline for 15 years. It's dudes that have been locked up for 20 years and come right back home and go sell crack again. After doing 15 years, after doing 10 years. Please. You know how much connections he made in jail? Jail is like a damn playground for criminals. While I still think it's possible he can be used again by Russian authorities to activate his network and wreak havoc, Salvo said, I'm skeptical he's going to reemerge as the biggest arms dealer on the planet as soon as he lands in Russia. What? And he got Russia to back him? He like, yo, I'm home. Yo, I'm out. Yo, what up? What? It's on. What do you mean? I got my man Putin right here. He having dinner with Putin tonight. Pascal Ray warns not to underestimate the adversity as crafty as an experience as Bout. I think it's very easy for him to get back into the business. Pasquarello said, I heard that Victor's not a threat, that he can't travel anymore, that he's not going to be isolated. He was like that for 10 years before we arrested him. He knew he couldn't go anywhere, and he still operated from safe spots. It frustrates Pasquarello that the efforts of the DEA and its allies couldn't keep Bout behind bars for longer. He doesn't understand why the U.S. couldn't get more detained Americans back in exchange for Bout if the State Department had to include him in the deal at all. We couldn't even get two people for the world's most notorious weapons trafficker, Pasquarello said. For a man who has been responsible for more carnage and blood diamonds and insurrections and threats to democracy than anyone else in the world, how is that a negotiation? That's like a free deal. Well, look who you negotiating with. Old Sleepy Joe. Joe probably fell asleep at the negotiation table. Yeah. Yeah. Who you want? Yeah. Give it to him. I did what? Yo, man. Wow. We really did that, y'all. I knew it was something bigger. I knew it was something bigger. They failed to mention that the Chinese president is in with the Saudi king signing deals. Okay. Okay. Boy. The power of the LGBT, boy. They'll let the illest killer out for the LGBT. It ain't even a fair trade. Ain't even a fair trade. Wow. You better watch these Democrats. They now they're using this girl, Brittany, for the election, right? Why she gonna be front and center the whole election, and she gonna get the whole LGBT community to go and vote Democrat. Watch. They got the immigrants that's gonna be able to vote in the next 2 years. They got the black, the sleep black community, not the woke black community, the sleep black community, and the black community that support all the LGBTQ community, and then they're gonna have the LGBTQ community. So the Republicans got a tough fight on their hands because black people love them some Joe Biden, boy. That's their Uncle Joe, boy. If you don't vote for Joe, you ain't black. You don't vote for Uncle Joe, you ain't black, Joe. I don't know why Joe, are you saying you was a Republican? You can't be going against Master Choke. You can't be doing that. Uncle Joe, he got the gay girl out to jail, Choke. Trump wouldn't have did that, Choke. Like he didn't get ASAP Rocky out. But that's a whole nother story, right? Yeah. But he didn't pardon all these other people, right? Right. Yeah, we know. Yo, man. This was interesting thing, but like I told y'all, I knew it was something going on and they was not telling us. And now we know. China's in bed, right? With the Saudis, and the Saudis is over there doing the exchange for and don't Russia rock with China. Yo, we better pay attention. We better pay attention. Because they up to something. Show no joke. Y'all already know. I'm gone.
Yeah. Choke no joke.
KK on
New life. They said I'll be dead or in jail. They was half right, I saw right can sell. I knew I wasn't rich when I couldn't make bail. I made out good, 5 niggas that didn't tell. Hold up, don't go to trial when caught up. Roll the dice, watch the numbers just go up. When you're off for what's short as a pup's nuts, you got the whammy, cause you pressed your luck. You could have been back on the town, industry bound, no more busting it down. To court is half O's, having to catch the flow, and reassuring those who act like they don't know that the ratchet let go. If you think we won't fill them hollow points up with mercury, send them to another planet, leave them screaming like Mike and Janet. Niggas can't stand it. I felt champagne with Ross running the game. When I was locked and the CEO jumped in my face, talking gangster, nigga. Like I'm not a fucking gangster, nigga. But you got it in here, cause the odds ain't fair. Cause you got that walkie and that button right there. But after 8 hours, you leave here. And that's when you friend, it's not fair. You shoot at the range, we shoot when in range. Roll up in that range, your face look real strange. The look on my face is I got that aim. Before you reach, you feel the pain. Blood stain, calculate to your brain. You've been licked by that thing. In the game of death, that's what you get when got game. It's a method to the madness, how I bring the pain of one that's not sane. Choke no joke, I do my thing. Can't hang. They say